We turn now to the California National Guard. In times of crisis at home or overseas, they protect the state and the nation. But tonight, in a joint investigation by NBC4 and our Bay Area sister station, we've uncovered what some call a hidden culture in the California Guard.
Is it a culture where racism and sexual assault sometimes go unchecked despite the fact they are reported? Joel Grover's here now with a 5-month investigation for us. Joel.
Well, Chuck and Colleen, these are the people who protect us, but who protects them? Nearly 24 Guard members from across the state are speaking out, putting their military careers at risk to expose problems they say their leaders have often ignored.
I had faith in this organization. They let me down.
All she wanted was to serve her country.
I just want it to stop. I just want it to stop.
She has risked her life protecting California and the nation. They are just two examples of what internal records and Guard members say is a pattern of harassment in the California National Guard. Does the senior leadership of the Guard tolerate harassment?
Yes.
The California Guard is on the front lines during nearly every major emergency. Whether it's restoring the peace during the LA riots,
right down here in front of the
fighting wildfires, or rescuing victims in other states' disasters.
For me, it was a calling.
Master Sergeant Jessica Brown joined the Guard because in her family, serving in the military is a tradition going back for generations.
You're not supposed to badmouth the military, ever.
But now Brown is speaking out about what she says is years of sexual harassment, starting with an assault in Las Vegas in 2007.
He wouldn't stop.
Her unit was on a training mission at Nellis Air Force Base. One night, after a group dinner, she says a fellow airman offered to walk her safely to her room.
He pushed me down on my bed. His hands were up and down my body. And all the while I was telling him to stop, don't do it, I'm married.
Brown says she reported the assault to her supervisor the very next day.
They try to hide everything that's happened to me.
Guard policy says accusations of sexual assault must be referred to the authorities for investigation. Brown says that never happened.
I just can't believe that the huge chain of command can't take care of people.
Brown says when she returned to her home base in California, harassment continued, even from a supervisor.
He propositions me for sex. I have no faith in the Guard, none.
And neither does Staff Sergeant Ann Oluwadari.
This isn't the 60s, this isn't the 50s, this is 2012.
Her complaint started with a folded up dollar bill with the N-word on it.
I opened it up and it had the word on it.
She works at Guard headquarters in Sacramento, where she kept snacks in this cabinet for her colleagues with a cash box for them to pay. Someone slipped this dollar into the cash box.
This right here read
How did that get changed to a B?
One of my officers in my office, he came and took the dollar bill out of my hand and he changed the N to a B.
After the incident, the sergeant wrote this email to her colleagues saying, I'm requesting that such divisive and negative feelings be kept to yourself. And 5 days later, you're given another bill.
I'm given this bill. It says, F your mother. We're adults here. And you think this is the right thing to do in an organization like the military?
This Guard report into the incident confirms that another sergeant who's white placed both dollar bills in Sergeant Oluwadari's cash box. That sergeant was disciplined, but Oluwadari says racist incidents continue. Is there a culture in the California Guard that tolerates racism?
Yes. It's unconscionable how this can be the norm, how this can be accepted as okay.
These and other Guard members from across California told us they too have experienced racism and harassment. Do you all think there is a hostile work environment in the Guard?
Absolutely,
yes.
So last year, the Guard's national headquarters ordered an investigation into the California Guard. Have you ever seen anything like what you saw in California?
No.
Chief Ronald Petty is a decorated member of the Oklahoma National Guard. He's one of 2 investigators who authored this scathing report, which remains secret from Guard members until we obtained it from internal sources.
It's just not
acceptable language.
Chief Petty's report says the N-word is used daily and often in the California Guard. And it says sexual harassment and a hostile work environment is commonplace.
They shouldn't be allowed anywhere.
I like to see a different mindset in an organization, that these things aren't tolerated, that there will be a price to pay for these actions.
So what does the head of the California National Guard have to say about the claims in our report? We'd like to know. 3 weeks ago, we asked General David Baldwin to sit down and talk with us, and for 3 weeks, his spokesman said the general wanted to tell his side of the story, and even said they'd make him available for an interview this afternoon. Last night, they canceled. We do intend to speak with the general in the weeks ahead. We want answers, and members of the Guard want resolution. And finally, late today, the Guard said it can't comment on that report by Chief Petty because they claim they haven't seen it yet. More on this tomorrow night.
Tonight, the code of silence, the practice of retaliation. Insiders tell us it's the culture of the California National Guard.
They're the people who are supposed to protect our state, the nation, in times of emergency. NBC4 and our sister station in the Bay Area have been conducting a joint investigation into problems at the Guard. Our investigative reporter Joel Grover here now with details for us. Joel.
Well, Chuck and Colleen, the motto of the California National Guard is integrity first. But in practice, dozens of members describe the Guard as a good old boys club, where those who speak out about wrongdoing pay a price, but leaders can break the rules. You're watching exclusive video we obtained of what insiders say was a joyride. 5 California National Guard choppers in heavy fog flying under the Golden Gate Bridge just for fun.
It's just not smart, it's not safe, it's not wise.
The choppers are part of the 129th Rescue Wing, based at Moffett Field. Choppers that are supposed to be used for emergencies like rescuing people.
Yeah, right down here in front of the
And fighting Southern California's wildfires. Not, insiders say, for a thrill ride under the Golden Gate, which put the passengers and people on the bridge at risk.
Somebody needs to speak out.
This veteran military pilot asked us to mask his identity for fear of retaliation. He says this Golden Gate flight doesn't meet the military's weather standards for safe flying in non-emergencies.
You would expect that there would be some disciplinary action. Maybe some people's promotions would be held up for making poor decisions.
In fact, the pilots of the lead chopper, according to this document we obtained, were 2 high-ranking Guard leaders, Major Tom Keegan and Major Matt Wente. But we've confirmed the Guard did not discipline Major Keegan. Commander Wente received a written reprimand, but get this, just weeks later, both received promotions. How many of you feel you've been retaliated against for doing the right thing?
I have.
These are just some of the Guard members who protect California. Describe the culture of the California National Guard.
Fear, retaliation.
Lieutenant Colonel Dave Emery says he faced retaliation when he spoke out about the case of Master Sergeant Jessica Brown,
So I fought and fought and fought.
who says she was sexually assaulted by a fellow airman.
Leadership has been told, and they don't do anything about it. They throw it under the rug.
How would you describe Sergeant Brown?
Highly dedicated, professional.
Emery says Guard leaders failed to act on Master Sergeant Brown's complaints.
Immediately, they should have called the Air Force Office of Special Investigation.
When that didn't happen, Emery complained in writing to the head of the California Guard, General David Baldwin. After writing that letter, Emery says the Guard tried to block him from getting a better job. Are you convinced you're being retaliated against for speaking out?
Oh, no question.
And this investigation into the California Guard, which we obtained, suggests retaliation is a problem. What is the reputation of the California National Guard?
It's not a good reputation.
Chief Ronald Petty of the Oklahoma National Guard conducted that investigation and co-authored this report. Was the California Guard properly investigating complaints of harassment and discrimination?
Not from what I could see.
His investigation also says employees are discouraged from filing complaints and they face bullying tactics and intimidation when they try to.
As your Adjutant General, I accept full responsibility for all the organization does or fails to do.
At his confirmation hearing last February, the head of the Guard, General David Baldwin, promised change in the Guard,
To turn it back into a values-based organization.
especially concerning women and minorities.
I have a mandate from the governor to change the culture of the unit, of the organization.
For the past 3 weeks, we've been calling and emailing the Guard, asking General Baldwin to speak with us. The Guard says no.
A culture where the leadership feels the rules do not apply to them. The culture basically says we can do what we want and there will be no consequence.
We will continue to try and get General Baldwin to speak with us and answer our questions. And finally, in the wake of our first report, which aired last night, the Guard appears to be taking some action. Late today, a spokesperson told us General Baldwin has asked the National Guard Bureau in Washington to come out and review how the California Guard is handling complaints from its members. The spokesperson says the general wants to make sure our state is in compliance with national standards in the way it handles complaints like those you've heard in our reports. We'll be talking to our Guard sources tomorrow, and we'll let you know what we find out to see what's really going on here.
All right. Thank you very much, Joel.
You're watching NBC4 News at 5.
We brought it to you first. Exclusive video of California National Guard members taking a dangerous joyride under the Golden Gate Bridge. It was just part of our I-Team investigation exposing what insiders say are widespread problems in the California National Guard. And now it appears the California Guard is taking action to get its house in order in the wake of our investigation.
And investigative reporter Joel Grover joins us, and he has this new development.
Well, Kathy, the California National Guard is asking for help from Washington, asking for an investigation into the way it's been handling complaints ranging from racism to attempted rape within the Guard. Current and former Guard members have been speaking out to us, telling us they've been victims of wrongdoing that was often not investigated, which would be against military regulations. Insiders describe a culture in the Guard where members face retaliation if they report wrongdoing, but leaders can get away with almost anything.
A culture where the leadership feels the rules do not apply to them. The culture basically says we can do what we want and there will be no consequence.
Today, a spokesperson for the Guard told me regarding the way complaints are handled, we don't do everything right. Do we make mistakes? Absolutely. So the California Guard has now asked the National Guard Bureau in D.C. to send an investigator to our state to see if complaints are being properly handled. If not, I'm told, the Guard will make significant changes. And finally, since our investigation began airing, we're hearing from numerous Guard members throughout the state who have a lot to tell us, so I assure you this investigation will continue.
All right, we know it will.
Willing to come forward then, right?
Yes.
Thanks, Joel.